Hi guys, Mindy the naturopath here. We're inside my garden today and I just wanted to do a video for you on 5 tips on how to use Silverbeet or Swisse chard. So in my garden we always have an abundance of Silverbeet growing. It's one of the most versatile vegetables that you can grow, and it will grow pretty much anywhere. So as you can see here, I've got quite a beautiful crop of beautiful healthy Swisse chard Silverbeet that I'm going to be harvesting from today, and we're going to make a couple of recipes, and I'm going to give you 5 different ways that you can utilize this star of your garden. So Silverbeet is a wonderful vegetable because it is rich in so many different antioxidants, including zeaxanthins. It's also got lots of iron, so non-heme iron, but still a good source of iron. Vitamin C, about 30% of your recommended daily vitamin C per 100 grams. Vitamin A as well. So it is a wonderful vegetable that is often underutilized, and with the cost of living at the moment, it's probably a really good idea to start including it a lot more into your diet. So I'm just going to harvest some of the leaves. I've just got just my medium kitchen knife. It's quite sharp, and I'm going to be cutting the base of the leaves. This will regenerate and keep growing for me. So the leaves are quite large. They've got large stalks. We have some little bits that have been eaten off by insects and stuff like that. It doesn't affect it. It's nature's way, so we're still going to be using them. They'll still wilt and they'll still be able to taste really nice in our food. So you can see how healthy and beautiful those leaves look. Lovely and green. Now over here I've got some darker ones. I'm going to show you the different colours that you can get. We're going to need a fair few of these leaves. They slice off really easily when you're harvesting them. You can see my chickens over here. They're coming and having a little bit of a play in some of my weeds. Yeah, so this is another variety of Swisse chard. This is a red variety. You can see that colour there. It's like a deep purple. So it comes in rainbow. You can get yellow, your orange, greens, and your red colour. And they're just absolutely spectacular. It just makes the star of my garden. I absolutely love them. So I've got some of the yellowy rainbow Silverbeet too. These are the red and the green together. Absolutely beautiful. And the yellow ones have green leaves, but they have yellow stems. So they're quite pretty as well. That's these ones. So absolutely amazing how many varieties you can get. Now we have this growing all year round. It's July here in Australia, in Victoria at the moment, so it's quite cold, the middle of winter. And we still, as you can see, have huge amounts of beautiful Silverbeet growing for us to use all year round. So with lettuce at $12 for a head, this is a great alternative, and I'll tell you how to use that in salad as well. So we've got our harvest that we just went and got from the garden. So I've got all of these lovely leaves, and I'm going to be showing you how I use those. So here I've got about 15 Silverbeet leaves that we just harvested, and I've washed them all thoroughly. So to wash them, I literally just put them in a colander and I just rinse them and make sure that there's no dirt or debris sitting on top of the Silverbeet. So often in the garden you'll see some snails and stuff like that will get onto your produce. So it's part of the process, isn't it? So making sure that they're rinsed off, we collect those snails and things and we give them to our chickens. Alright, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to start with tip 1, and that is to use Silverbeet instead of things like cabbage rolls. So these leaves, because of their size, they can be wilted and they can be used to wrap things up. So I'm going to wilt these, and I'm going to make a tuna and rice dish and show you what kind of things you can do to fill these leaves up. So that's tip number 1. So I'm going to be putting these leaves in my trusty Pyro pot, which is my Pyrolex pot. It's my 15 litre thick barreled wonderful stock pot that I use for so many different things. So I'm just going to be squashing those leaves in there. They don't bend or break because they're so large. Look how beautiful they are. And then I'm just going to be adding a small amount of water. I'll show you when I do this how much water I'm putting in. But this is what the leaves look like here. You can see that it's quite full of leaves. but this will wilt right down. So I'm just going to add probably about 1 litre of water to the pot, and there's markings on the side of my pot so I can see. And the litre is going to steam the leaves because we don't want to boil them. We want to steam them. They're going to sit in a bit of the water, but it's only going to soften them so that we can use them for our dish. Okay, that's enough water. So it's not much in the big pot, but when I tilt it, you can see that water coming up there. So that's going to go on the stove top with the lid on, and it's going to wilt. It only will take about 5 to 10 minutes to wilt. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to show you my next tip for using Silverbeet. Okay, so that's on, that's wilting, and that won't take very long to wilt, and I'll kind of stir it around a little bit in about 2.5 minutes. Okay, so my next tip for Silverbeet, so I've got some of my lovely red Silverbeet here, is that you can use it as a salad bowl decoration. So instead of having like banana leaves or other types of leaves, vine leaves, things like that as your decoration in your Buddha bowls, so we can use these for different kind of decorations. And I'm just going to show you, I'm not going to make a Buddha bowl today, but I'm just going to show you a display that we'll often use. So this is a flat bowl that you would use for things like nachos, Buddha bowls, any kind of like snack bowls that you're trying to make. So what I would do is I would have one of my large Silverbeet leaves. Isn't that beautiful? And I would use it in the bowl to line the bowl, and then I would add all of my fillings. So you can have a little bit of guacamole there, you can have a little bit of a bean sauce, you can have some refried beans on that, you can have some Mexican red rice, you know, a little bit of quesado, and you could make that into a bit of a Buddha bowl, and also you're using the Silverbeet to decorate that, but it looks really pretty, and it's also lining that, and it gives that food that flavor as well, and you can eat it. You can also use it in place of this tip number 3 of salad. So lettuce at the moment in Australia is absolutely exorbitant. We've got a lot of inflation going on. There's issues with farming problems because we've had things like flooding, fertilizer problems, things like that. So the price of lettuce is now astronomical. So using things like Silverbeet has a wonderful flavor to it. So if you just break that leaf off, you get a small fragment. So you're not getting big chunks, but a small fragment of leaves can be used in place of other lettuces as well. And because you've got all the different colors, you can have quite a colorful salad bowl. You can eat it raw, and it's got a lovely mineral type flavor thanks to all of those minerals that are present in your Silverbeet. So obviously when I'm making it into a salad, I'd be cutting these stalks off because they can be a little bit tough to eat. So I'd be cutting those off, but I literally would be ripping up my so I like to rip it. Rips nice and easily. I'm going to show you how it rips. And pop it in your bowl like a salad, and you can add, you know, whatever you like to your salad, cucumber, tomato, however you want to build that salad, and you have a base. These are your leaves. They're so healthy. They're like a superfood, and it's often an underutilized superfood. See, so that's that one, and then I could add some of my green and red one, and that's just so pretty as well, and it will make quite a lot of salad leaves too. And if you've got it growing in your garden, Swisse chard is something you can just go and get. So I could just get 2 big leaves and whip up a salad for my family, and we've got something as a side dish or something as a main meal for lunch or dinner. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So that's my salad base, and it's absolutely delicious to eat. It tastes really good. It's really fragrant. It's really, really nice. So they're my first 3 tips. One of my other tips for using Silverbeet is to wilt it like we are doing. And I'm going to show you how they come out. But when we wilt it, we can use it in place of things like lasagna sheets. So instead of having pasta sheets or even zucchini or any of those things, you can actually wilt your Silverbeet and line your lasagna. So it has a myriad of uses where it can be used for things like that. So this is getting nice and hot now. So it's starting to steam. It's getting softer. And we're nearly ready for wrapping our wonderful tuna wraps. So I'm just turning them over so that these guys get to get on the bottom a little bit and get steamed a little bit more, and we'll be done in a couple of minutes. So yeah, so using your Silverbeet beet to layer your dishes. So you can use it in place of cannelloni, you can use it in place of lasagna. You can even use it as a wrap for sausage rolls and things like that. Now, one of my favourite, simplest ways to use Swisse chard is as my greens. So often our greens will look like meat, potato and a green veggie. That will often be peas or beans. With Silverbeet, when it's been sauteed, so we know sauteing is basically putting it in a pan and kind of frying it so lightly so that it gets that kind of crispiness still, but it's warm and warmed through. So I love to saute Silverbeet, so I'm going to slice my Silverbeet up into strips, and I like to use it with lemon and garlic. So it gives it a real earthy flavour, and you can have it, it'll wilt when you do that. I'm going to turn that off now, they're all wilted and beautiful. It will wilt and it will turn into a lovely kind of green consistency, so you can pick it up with your fork and eat it. And it will wilt right down. You can even use it in place of spinach with tomato, mushrooms, and have that fried up in the morning with an egg. It's a lovely way to cook your Silverbeet. But when you chop it up, you get this lovely consistency where the Silverbeet is kind of in strips, and so that will wilt down into a lovely kind of soft, really easy to eat texture with that lovely lemon and garlic flavour. But so good sauteed quickly with some tomato and mushrooms, especially for breakfast in the morning. It's a lovely all-in-one dish. You can also chop up your Swisse chard or your Silverbeet and use it in place of spinach in any dish. Any dish that calls for spinach can be used like this. So if you have an abundant harvest like you've just seen that I have, and you don't know what to do with it that day, you can cook your Swisse chard down. I like to chop it up like this and do it in bulk and cook it down in a big pot like this until it's wilted, not till it's overcooked. And then I like to let it cool and then put it through a food processor or a blender and freeze it in portion. And then what you've got in your freezer is some snap frozen fresh Silverbeet to just whack in any dish that you want to use it in. Things like lamb saag, if you're making some Indian curries. Silverbeet can be used for so many different things. Alright, so I'm just going to pop that away for another dish later that I'll make, but I'm going to show you this tuna wrap recipe that I've made. It's kind of like I've made it up on the spot, but it's just a way that you can use Silverbeet. So I've got my wilted Silverbeet here. You can see it's quite hot, and I'm going to strain that over the sink in my trusty colander. Excuse that noise from my pots. Okay, now we're going to pop that over there and I'm going to strain that. I'll show you when it's strained. Pot's empty. Okay, and we're just going to pop that back in our pot to just sit there and cool for a little minute. But you'll see that Silverbeet is wilted and ready to be used as a wrap. Alright, so right now I'm going to mix up my tuna, my base tuna sauce, and we're going to use that inside of our Silverbeet. So in the freezer here I have cooled some rice. I have a huge pot of rice that I've just cooled, semi-cooled, and that's about 2 cups of cooked rice. So that is going to go over here. I'm going to add to the rice, I'm just going to add it all together, a tin of Italian style tuna in oil. I've drained the oil off, but I've left a little bit around the tuna so it's not dry. Okay, smells amazing. Pop that in. You can see that what that looks like when it's in the pot. And I'm going to put 2 cloves of garlic in there. Garlic is just, oh, amazing. So that's just been chopped finely, and I like fresh garlic. And I've just minced up a whole onion, 2 carrots, some celery, and a green capsicum. So whatever veggies you have on hand, you could even add some more of your Silverbeet in if you want to. We're going to just pop that in with our tuna. And then what I'm going to do is add in some lemon pepper. So lemon pepper is a combination of different peppers. So I've got ground black pepper, I've got some lemon rind, and I've got some leaves, some parsley leaves, I've got some onion powder, and I've got some lovely different salt in there too, so Celtic sea salt in there. So I'm just going to add a teaspoon of that into the mix, and I'm going to add some of my homemade chicken stock paste. So it looks like this. Homemade chicken stock paste, which is basically salt, chicken and vegetables and some spices. Let's concentrate, so I only need a teaspoon of that. I'm going to add some salt and pepper. About probably a teaspoon of each. And there is salt in the stock, so I don't need to go crazy with my salt. And then I'm going to add some white bechamel sauce. You'll see that consistency there, that's already been pre-made. I'm going to add that in to that. So the white sauce, the recipe I'll have in the comments for you. So it's really simple to make. And that's going to be about 1/4 of a cup in there just to bind it all together. And the rest of that white sauce will go over the top of our wraps when we're done. And then it's just my elbow grease to mix it. Okay guys, so now we're up to the messy bit where I've got my mixture done. You can see my little bits of Silverbeet that have gone through that. So it's all nice and sticky with that rice and that bechamel sauce in there. So now what I'm going to do is I've got my wilted Silverbeet. You can see one piece here. And I've just cut the stem off that. And I'm going to fill it with the rice tuna mixture. So I've just got some here and I'm just packing that with my hands. And I'm going to add that in. It'll come out a little bit looser, but that's okay. As we wrap it, it will firm up. And it's going to line that Silverbeet. That looks nice, doesn't it? Nice chunks of tuna in there. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is lift up the bottom and I'm going to start to wrap it this way. Okay. Now I have a little parcel. You can see that. And that parcel is going to go into our baking tray. All right. So I'm just going to keep going with this. And I'll speed that up so you don't have to go through the boring process with me. And we'll go until we get them all done, okay, until we've used all our mixture. Okay, so now we've rolled our Silverbeet rice wraps up with our tuna inside. We're just going to cover that in the rest of the white sauce, and that will be ready to put a little bit. I'm just going to pour that straight out of I use the Thermomix to make my sauce. Just over the top of that, it's going to seep through the layers. You'll see it go down into the layers. Okay. And it's going to give it a creamy texture and not dry it out when it bakes. So that white sauce is literally just, I'm going to put it in the comments, just some gluten-free flour, some butter and some milk. I'll let that go down. Alright, so that's lovely and creamy. And you'll see it's starting to soup down the sides of that sauce there in that casserole dish. So these clear dishes that I use are from IKEA, and they have lids so you can freeze them as well and rebake them. Try and spread that sauce around evenly, and you want it to get down the sides there. Okay. And then we're going to add just some cheese on top. You don't need to add the cheese, you can put a bit of paprika on top, that would be fine. If you're dairy free, I'll include a variation in that too, where you can add some coconut milk to your sauce and some nutritional yeast and a little bit of paprika and lemon to give it a bit of a savoury taste. And that is ready to bake in the oven. And I like to add, I just had about probably half a cup of cheese on there. Looks like it's bigger than it is because I've spread it around, but that's been grated. And I just like a little bit of paprika on top. It just gives it that colour and flavour. Alright, so you saw the wilted leaves of the Silverbeet, and that's what I was talking about in replacing lasagna and things like that. So from top to bottom, my 5 tips are, firstly, using your wilted Silverbeet leaves as wraps, like I have done here, to wrap up anything. You can make cabbage rolls instead of cabbage using your Silverbeet with your mince and your rice together. You can make sausage rolls with Silverbeet. You can make them as burritos. You can use them as any kind of wrap that you like. The other one, my second tip, was to use it in place of salad. So ripping it apart and putting it in your salad, like I have done with this Silverbeet here, and using it in place of lettuce is just a fantastic option. And that can be used in any dish that requires baby spinach or spinach, because you've got those smaller sections of your Silverbeet. My third tip was to use the wilted leaves in place of things like lasagna. So in between instead of your pastry, you can use Silverbeet leaves that have been packed together in place of that, and as a decoration for your Buddha bowls, things like that. And my fourth tip was to use it in, sauteing as well. So having it as a side dish. So you can have your Silverbeet with your lemon and garlic on the side instead of your peas and your beans, and also using it with mushrooms and tomato for breakfast. It's a really nice combination. And my last and final tip for using more Silverbeet in your diet was to blanch it like we had done in the pot, like making it nice and wilted, and then blending it into portions so that you've got cup portions or 2 cup portions frozen into freezer bags. You can flatten them so they store better, and then you can just pull them out of the freezer and throw them into the dishes that you want to use. Alright guys, thanks for watching today. I hope that's given you some more tips on how to use your Silverbeet better, and I'll see you for the next video. Bye.